Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Last lesson we learned about for loops, and this lesson we'll be learning about while loops. While loops are the second type of loops, and it's used when we don't know how many times to run the loop. In for loops we give an amount of numbers, an amount of times that the loop should run. Let's open our file and let's make a new file called while loops, and we'll make a numbers list with many more numbers. The numbers from 1 to 20, like this. Over here, if you want to add 2 to every number, which will make a answer that is less than 20. Okay. Now we don't know how many times to use this loop, so we'll declare a counter variable. A counter variable is a variable that counts how many times we run this loop. Mostly this variable is named I. Now we declared it 0 because we ran it 0 times, and because lists are accessed with the index, and indexes start with the number 0. So it will start going from 1. If it was already at 1, it will start from 2. And if it was at 2, it would start at 3, and so on. Now let's declare our while loop, which would look like this. Here, as you can see, I'm telling while. So I used a different block of code called len. It's a function which is a reusable block of code that returns a value. So, for example, we are giving it our numbers list, right? It's receiving the input and we are receiving an output, and while loops always are accessed with the boolean expression. So here, this would be the boolean expression. So while that is true, okay? So while I is lesser than len, so the input that it gets, the numbers, then it will start running. Once it's the same, then it will stop. Here's the next block of code for the if statement. For the while statement, the while loop would be this. If numbers is in I, okay, it should add 2 to every number, which will be for which the result will be lesser than 20. So it would add all of those. Next, we'll print those numbers. Now after this, we wanted to add 1 to the counter variable, so I, to tell it to move on to the next number. So in this case, we would add I, addition assignment operator, and plus 1. So it will add 1 to the counter variable. So now, for example, if we would run this code, right, it would be saying it made 1, 3, 2, 4, and so on. But all of these numbers over here are lesser than 20, and our counter variable stopped after it printed all. It added once as to say that we ran this loop once, and that it's the same, and that this condition over here is false. So if we try running this without telling the counter variable to stop, because it's the same, so to not add anything to it. So let's make it a comment and let's run it. So now we made our first infinite loop, which is a loop that never stops. And as you can see, it's actually not stopping over here. If you're on IDLE, then the way would be Control-C, which over here, sadly, on PyCharm, does not work. But on PyCharm, we can click this stop while loops button over here, and it stops. So, for example, if we we can also stop it from here. We can stop it from most places, right? So that's an infinite loop. This is how we use while loops, and this lesson we learn about while loops and how to use them. Next lesson we'll make a small game and we'll play it. Bye, see you next video. It would really encourage me if you liked, subscribed and shared.